Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome to another edition of eHeroes. Now, this edition is a little different than some of the other ones because, I don't know if I've ever shared with my audience that I've been married 30 years. And out of those 30 years, 25 of those years, I've been an entrepreneur. So it's not always easy. And some of my friends I've been watching lately going through nasty divorces. So I wanted to bring in an expert. And this is Kelly Chang from
Yep,
Pasadena, and she is
Rickert.
family Kelly Chang Rickert. She is a family law specialist, and so I want to welcome Kelly as a guest today. And we're going to talk about how to or not get divorced while you're an entrepreneur and try to save your marriage, because I think it's very important.
Yep, I agree. I think marriage is the most important thing in your life. If you're married, you need to take care of that. You need to cultivate it.
And I actually before we got on the podcast, I think it was about last week, I had mentioned to you that I saw one of your posts, and the whole thing started off as people going through divorces were just acting nasty to each other. They're acting as assholes, and I've seen some really horrendous battles between uh, spouses, and it's taken down the business, it's taken down the family, it's taken down everything that they've ever worked together for. And it's just horrible. It's a horrible experience to watch, and I just couldn't even imagine what these people go through. But I mean, you see this every day.
Mm-hmm.
How do you cope?
Well, I really don't like my job that much, but you have to. Here's the thing: you work for money. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are like, do you like being a family lawyer? I like having my own business, and I like being able to counsel people in what I think is a deception of society. Everybody thinks that marriage is supposed to be this perfect thing that's going to fulfill your needs. It's not. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage is a commitment. It's a choice. And if your marriage sucks, you can bank on your divorce sucking even more, because marriage isn't easy, but divorce is hell.
Yeah.
So, the personality that you're dealing with, that you're trying to get away with in a divorce, is usually magnified 1,000 times. So if you're dealing with a narcissist in a marriage, your divorce is going to be 1,000,000 times worse, because it's the narcissist times 1,000,000.
Right.
So, let's just stop with like the fantasies of divorce being so awesome. That's another thing. Society happens to worship divorce because a lot of celebrities do it. And a lot of people are like, I'm going to get rich in the divorce. Nobody gets rich.
No.
You get half.
Yeah, they look at people like Jeff Bezos and his wife, and she's walking away with billions. But it's typically you walk away with nothing.
Nothing. Less than nothing, because now you don't even have a partner that you can follow up.
Right. And if you're both relying on those incomes to keep up with your lifestyle, and now you're living on half of that, you're selling homes, you're selling cars, you're selling assets, and you're going to struggle for probably a good 10 years before you can rebuild. It's horrible.
People don't get that. Some people, they think it's a get rich quick scheme. Like, I'm going to get divorced and I'm going to be rich. It's like, so a lot of women might think that because in the marriage, perhaps their assets are locked up by a husband that's very controlling. Yeah. Maybe they give them an allowance or something like that. So maybe in the divorce, they'll get a lump sum. They can do whatever they want with their money. So maybe in their mind, this is like a paycheck. But generally, and some women would prefer that. Like, they would prefer to be free with a limited amount of money they can spend, rather than, abused by a husband.
So. When I got married, I was 20, my wife was 19. We got married very young.
Ooh, that is young.
And I got married in the Catholic Church. And before you get married, you have to go through counseling. And the counselor that we met said, no, you're too young. We don't recommend that you get married at all. And so we had to go before the priest, and the priest, said, okay, well, I think you're okay. You're ready to go. But had we listened to that counselor, we would have never gotten married. 30 years later, here we are. We're still married. We struggle every day. I mean, we have 6 kids. We have a grandson. But there are people who went to these counselors and said, yeah, you're good to go. I mean, we're rooting for you, and they're divorced a year later. And to me, that there's no rhyme or reason, you know, but I see these people now getting married 2, 3, 4 times. And I'm like, there's no way I can afford that.
I know.
You know, so what advice do you give people? I mean, I know that some say, you know, it's just common sense, but no, it's got to be more than that, because, you know, you just don't want to, you know, for me, I would think, you know, not get divorced, but I guess sometimes you have to. You got to get away from that behavioral, you know, maybe.
Yeah,
you know,
I would just
guy's
say
a
don't
narcissist or what. Yeah.
Don't make it an option in your marriage. I mean,
Right.
divorce is so easy, but just don't make it an option. Don't talk about it. Don't threaten it. You know, I think one of the topics that came up is I charge for all my consults. And I'll tell you why. I'm trying to save marriages. If I was so easily accessible by any couple that had a fight, you know, and they didn't have to invest in talking to me, then I would literally be getting calls like up the wazoo because you had a fight, you know. And if you had a fight and that's the reason to run into a divorce lawyer, you guys need to check yourselves, because you're wrecking yourselves. It's like, give me a break. You had a fight. Everybody has fights.
Well, let's talk about that, because, you know, I think charging for those initial consultations is what most entrepreneurs and even most lawyers will do. Those initial consultations for free, and they just spin their wheels, and that's crazy.
In divorce, it's a common game. I've been doing it for 20 years. Sometimes you have a very abusive spouse, and they will go around town trying to cultivate as many privileged conversations as they can so their other spouse doesn't get representation. So let's say Joe Blow decides he doesn't want, you know, Jane Blow to have a lawyer. What I would do is I would call up every lawyer in town and tell them my problems, because then after I know about their problems, I have advised them, Jane Doe can't hire me, you know. So you get conflicted out. And this happens a lot. I've had so many times, maybe at least 50 times, that one spouse calls me. I already gave them a consult. The spouse, you know, calls me, and I can't represent them because I already gave that person a consult and they never hired me, you know. So I don't know. I don't think divorce lawyers should ever give free consults, because a lot of this field is highly emotional. And what these people need is like a therapist, or maybe actually just like a friend. They really just need a friend to talk to, not a divorce lawyer, because these people don't care about community property or, you know, child custody and how it's determined. They basically want to come to me and have me hear them out, which is fine if I didn't have 6 million other things to do. But I do, you know, I don't have the time for that. I don't really have time to give marriage counseling all day.
Right. I mean, because you got your own marriage, you got your own kids, or I guess you have kids, and you know, trying to deal with someone else's problems for free is just not going to pay your bills.
I know. And everybody's got problems, you know. I pulled my back the other day, and I'm not going to go ask my back doctor for a free steroid injection. That's what they do for a living. They have real paying clients, you know. I don't understand that. Like, people call and they expect to reach a lawyer. It's like, no, I'm in court, you know. Or if I'm in court, I'm hiking. Like, why would I want to take you? You're just a stranger. I don't know somebody's at fault for a marriage falling apart. Could be you.
You know, but
your spouse.
Could be me.
Yeah. Like, I get these calls a lot. Like, you know, like, oh, you're supposed to help me. I'm like, why? There's people dying. Shouldn't I be helping them?
Yeah, and I think that I think some spouses that they get emotional, you know, and that they want to at least get some answers, but they don't always understand that, you know. And I look at the courtrooms now, you know, because I represent some other lawyers that I do business with. You know, some of these cases could take 2-3 years before they even see a court. I don't know how it is with divorce.
My longest divorce case lasted 12 years.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was already in a long-term marriage with a second wife by the time his first wife and all the property issues were resolved. Yeah.
So that's just crazy, because, you know, you want to resolve this quick. I think there's a lot better ways to do it than drag it out for 12 years.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think they do that. One spouse that, you know, wants to exact revenge, that's what they do. They draw it out.
Yeah.
So you can't really help that. But, you know, speaking for a poor lawyer's point of view, you either got the asshole spouse or you're being paid to deal with the asshole. You know what I mean? Because if you look around, you can't figure out who the asshole is. It's probably you. But, you know, generally men could be assholes, like they cut off their wives. And then their poor wives will try to call me, but they don't have a dime. So now why a busy person like me would want to deal with your asshole husband who probably has a gun and is going to come and shoot me? Why would I do that for free? Right? $25,000 to start, but like, I'm not going to, I'm sorry, you have a friend to talk to, go in hiding, but I'm not going to sit there and deal with an asshole husband. Yeah. It's the same with the asshole husbands. Like, you know, generally I do represent what we call the in-spouse, which is like, typically in-spouses have access to money. And typically that entails being an asshole. So sometimes I represent the assholes. Now, why do I do that? Because at least I'm being paid. Yeah. And I don't like them. I fired assholes before. But, you know, it happens. And I'm not going to do my job, which is basically cleaning shit up. I'm not going to do that for free. Sorry.
You know, and the funny thing is that, you know, before I became a consultant and an author and all the things that I do, I had a cleaning business for 20 years. And so I was always cleaning up other people's shit, dog shit, cat shit.
Literally.
Cleaning their carpets, cleaning their upholstery, whatever. And the moment I sold that business and devoted more time to helping, you know, entrepreneurs, lawyers, doctors, you know, the funny thing is I'm still cleaning up shit.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I'm just getting paid better for it. So you just have to look at it and say, you know what, is the shit worth it? If it is, then I keep doing it.
Yep, exactly.
You know? But, you know, and I you know, I have friends that, you know, I've seen who have gotten married multiple times in the course of me being married 30 years. And they lose everything every couple of years. And I'm like, why do that to yourself? You know, for me, you know, I got married for life or death, you know, and I took all those vows, and, you know, my wife is co-owner of the business, and you know, I just can't imagine, you know, losing any of that. But to me, it's not about the business. It's not about the money. It's about family. You know, I created this business to have a better family, to be able to be there for them. You know, I wasn't always there for my younger kids when they were growing up, but my older kids, my younger kids, I'm here all the time now because my office is in my home. So I'm, you know, it's a little different.
Yeah.
But some of these entrepreneurs who are getting divorced, they treat their business as their number one, their baby, and they toss their family aside. And to me, that's the wrong way to do things.
Yeah, I agree. It's very important for women too. I think, especially I think society still envisions men as the breadwinner. You definitely can't abandon the family home. You still need to help your wife sometimes. But I think this particular issue I have is with a lot of strong women that make more money than their men, and then they basically abandon their homes. Right. And then they resent their husbands. So a lot of marriages fail because of that as well. Yeah. And so basically my advice is, you know, if you have a home, you need to protect that, and that needs to be your main domain. If you're working too much, you need to cut down. You know, I've cut down. You know, I used to carry a roster of maybe 80 clients. I had a full-time associate. And then after my second was born, I cut down a lot. These days, I'll carry no more than 20 cases. And, you know, that's another reason I have to charge for consults, because I don't have a dearth of clients. Yeah. I handpick. I actually really love all the clients I pick. I mean, sometimes, you know, my mom always says this to me. She goes to the grocery store. She's this Taiwanese mom, very meticulous about picking produce. But sometimes she gets that rotten plum. Yeah. And that's what she says about me, because I'm like, Mom, I actually like spend so much time like trying to pick my clients. But inevitably, there's always going to be some asshole. And she's like, yeah. Because, you know, narcissistic people, they don't present as narcissistic. Sometimes they're very charismatic and charming. You have a lot in common. And you're like, this is going to be a perfect client. And then they turn into the perfect nightmare. Or maybe their spouse is the perfect nightmare. And so, you know, in those cases, I do tend to fire people a lot. That's the thing. It's like, you got to take the driver's seat. You know, you'll have clients that are like, you're not a real lawyer if you fire me. I'm like, I can fire you if I want. You work for me just as much as I work for you. And if my life is threatened, that's zero tolerance. I was being stalked once. I had to get off Facebook for like a month, right? Because this guy knew where I was. He knew about my kids. And I had to go get some gun training. And then at some point I'm like, this is not worth it. I don't care if you're paying me $6 million. I'm not taking your case.
Yeah. And you see, that's, you know, I teach social media. I've been teaching social media for a long, long time. And that's the problem with social media. It makes everybody more accessible. And, and social media has become also the blame, I think, for a lot of divorces.
Yeah, definitely.
But, you know, going back to handpicking clients, and I like that term because, you know, you took a business that was going from, you know, 60 or 80 clients down to 20. But because you handpicked them now, you have a better type of grasp on what's going on, and you have more freedom to spend with your family.
Yep. I make less money, but I spend less. And so it's, you know, I also think money is the root of, I don't know. Some people want to make a lot of money, so they wouldn't turn down clients, but I think you have to focus on what's important to you. Like for me, it was hard to manage a staff that was growing because with additional staff comes additional problems. Right. You know, and then, so for me, like right now, I do find I have a part-time associate and I have 2 part-time assistants, and that's good enough for me. I can't take 80 cases, and I can't take those really nasty ones now with death threats or whatever. But the handful I do take, I really value all, and they all value my time, and I get paid. And that's all I need is to be able to pay my bills. I don't need to be a bazillionaire. Right.
And, you know, and I've heard that phrase, you know, many, many, many times, you know, money is the root of all evil. And I look at money as not good or bad. I consider it more of a tool. You know, money is that tool that allows me to take my family on vacation or give them more things or do things that I couldn't do when I was broke. But, you know, in the same respect, when you start making a ton of money and you're used to that lifestyle and then the money drives up, you know, the lack of money, I think, is also the cause of a lot of divorces.
Definitely. You know? Although I recently had a friend who's been married for like 20 years. They have a shitload of money. I mean, they live in a $10 million house. And she just discovered he met some girl on the internet and impregnated her. Wow. So her 20-year, so money does not save you from bad decisions, right? Right. So, I mean, her life's turned upside down overnight.
Yeah, it's
kind of hard to feel sorry for those types of people, but my heart still feels sorry for her because she hasn't worked. She has 2 kids. She doesn't know what's going to happen because everything's in his name. She had every need provided for her: live-in housekeeper, live-in nanny, driver, 15 million Teslas. You know, she's never had to work.
It really wasn't a relationship. It was just a marriage of convenience.
It's funny though, because she told me he left because he felt she was emasculating him. Wow. A guy making bazillion dollars a year felt like his wife was emasculating him. Interesting, right? So I started doing research. I'm like, it's not really about money, because a lot of people are like, the women breadwinner usually emasculates the guy. Not really, because in this one particular instance, he's the breadwinner, but she still emasculated him. How is that? I'm like, she didn't make a dime, but she emasculated him enough for him to leave.
That's horrible.
I know. It was a choice to leave. I mean, it was like, I'll stay with you if you quit the affair, and he will not quit. He chose the affair. I know. Sad, right?
Yeah, that's, you know, now, before we got on, you had mentioned, before we went live with the podcast, you had mentioned that sometimes it's cultural too. You know, the divorces, you know, they don't happen until the kids are of age. They move out, and then they just, the spouses realize they just don't have anything in common anymore.
Yeah. Empty nesters.
Yeah. Is that, you know, what do you say to those people? Because, you know, my kids are still here. They keep coming back.
By the way, I think that you still being married for 30 years with your first, I think that speaks volumes. Yeah. It speaks a dedication and commitment that you can deliver to your clients. A lot of people are like, if you're a divorce lawyer, you should be divorced. I'm like, actually, I think it should be the opposite. I mean, I think all walks of life could do all walks of careers. Yeah. But I think I provide the best service to my clients because I readily talk them out of the divorce.
Yeah.
I have so many letters in my drawer. You've saved my marriage. That's not something a typical divorce lawyer gets, but I frame these letters.
No, and that's the thing. And I think that's what, makes you, one of the heroes that I look for when I interview people is because, you're not the typical divorce lawyer. You do things to try to save marriages, when I watched one of your videos, it wasn't about, hey, that guy's an asshole. That guy's this. It's not about pointing fingers. It's about trying to bring the family back together. And that's, and when you're an entrepreneur and you have employees and you sit down with the employees, you mediate stuff and you try to show them, hey, you know what? It's not about, leaving or quitting. It's about sticking around and becoming that family. I think the lessons that people take in their own marriage can be applied to, their entrepreneurial family. It's just, it's a shame because nobody, we live in this instant gratification world and nobody wants to give anybody more than 15 minutes and say, I'm tired of you. And then they leave and it's just terrible.
It is terrible. People ghost each other. That's a term. It's like, you're dating someone and they don't like you. They just move on. It's so weird. People do not know how to treat people these days. Don't you feel that way?
I'm very sarcastic. And so, when people approach me and I'll a lot of times I use sarcasm as a weapon because it does, it turns the people off that I really don't want in my life.
Yeah.
But those who accept me for who I am are they, Rob, you're the funniest person, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? I just, but, it's not about changing somebody else. And I think that's the problem is both men and women, they'll say, once we get married, I'll change her or she'll change me. I'm like, no, I've been the same asshole for the last 30 years. I ain't changing.
I'm an asshole. I know it's funny because I posted, I'm seeking a career that there's no assholes. And I look around and I'm like, my career makes me an asshole.
Yeah.
It's okay. I try not to be, but sometimes I have to be, but yeah.
But you become more of their friend. You become more of their, their therapist. You become, somebody that will end up, going for coffee, and with a typical lawyer, a typical divorce lawyer, you pay him big bucks and you never see him again. They want to be your friend.
I don't really want to be my client's friend either. But that's the thing. It's like the boundary is there's a line. And if they see you as a friend, you can't bill your time, and it's really important if you're going to have a business relationship that you bill your time. It's really important for them to see that your time is valuable.
Right.
And like electricity, if you don't pay it, it gets turned off.
Right.
My services get turned off. I'm not going to stay around because I'm your friend. So it's really important not to befriend your divorce clients. After is fine. I have a ton of clients that I'm friends with on Facebook.
Right.
But during, they can't reach me. They never get my cell phone. They have to schedule their appointments. Even if I'm in the office, I won't take their call because they're not scheduled. They have to know that,
But
that's the thing. I think people need to, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you really need to protect your time. There's going to be days that you're slow. And then you feel those days you're the most vulnerable to attack because those are the days if a client calls, your tendency is to take the call, get the client. But you have to protect your time. So like my advice for entrepreneurs would be set aside a day that you take clients. And so maybe it's when I started out, I had an office at Wilshire and I called my client days Wilshire Wednesdays. And so even if Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm doing other things unrelated to work, I only reserved Wednesday to meet clients. And so what that does is it reserves your time. So if there are 4 clients wanting to see you, all of a sudden one client doesn't get the appointment until the following Wednesday. Makes you the more time, like it's psychology. If you're readily available to people, they're not going to hire you.
Right.
Even if you're doing nothing. Like I could be cooking at the beach, whatever. But if I make myself available just that one day, it's none of their business what I'm doing the other days.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they all want to hire you. So that's what I tell people. No free consults. Maybe you want to reserve Wednesday as your day to call these people back, but don't call people back right away, especially if they don't have appointments, and you take care of yourself and your time. I spend a lot of time writing. Right. So my blog, everything I write, I'm a writer. Mm-hmm. So all those times that I'm not actively working on my client files, I'm writing.
Yeah. You know, and that's, I always tell my entrepreneurs that you have to market for yourself first. You know, you have to promote your own business first, and then, you know, you help your clients. If you don't, you know, it's same with your marriage. You know, if you don't devote that time to the marriage, it's just going to all fall apart. So, you know, just, you got to schedule that time. You know?
Yeah. Definitely.
How do people get a hold of you? Where do they go?
They can go to my website, which is Purpose Driven Lawyers. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter as Lawyer Kelly. I don't really check social media messages out. It goes to like a spam. I know sometimes I'll log on. It's like, you know, 18 unresponded messenger requests. I don't know. I don't really check that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess call my office, and I have assistants here who always listen to people. And then if you want to schedule a consult, they'll send you an intake form after you complete it.
Yeah. You know, well, you know, it's good that we mentioned that social media a little bit, because, you know, just like our cell phones, you know, you have to turn them off sometimes. And
definitely,
a lot of times I'll keep my cell phone off, you know, 8 hours a day. And people say, well, don't you take calls anymore? I said, if you really want me, leave a message. If you really want me, you'll find me on social. You'll find me over here. I mean, I'm always in front of the computer writing, you know, and I see the messages popping up. In fact, you know, as we're on this podcast, I got like 7 tabs that just popped up. People saying, Rob, help. You know, I'm ignoring them.
Good. Because your time is valuable.
I will get back to you when I have the time to do so. You know, goes back to, you know, the instant gratification stuff. You got to turn it off.
You're right.
You know, so answering chats, emails, phone calls once a day or once a week, that helps you save time. Helps you.
It does.
You know, devote more time.
I used to have an auto response to my emails. It used to say, to better serve you, I'm now limiting my email checking to twice a day. Mm-hmm. So in the morning, in the afternoon. But then I was like, screw that. So I just took it off. Because then it was almost like me justifying why I'm not responding to you right away.
Yeah.
And so finally I was just like, the law of being human. I don't know. A lot of times I just wish we could go back to the days where we were kids. Do you remember that? We go out and play. We came home. There wasn't an answering machine. No. Sometimes you don't even check. The light's flashing, but you don't even check. So if somebody really wanted to call you, they'll come over. If you're not home, they'll go play with somebody else.
Yeah, now they call you. Now they call you,
like they know
and then you don't answer. They text you, you don't answer. Then they find you on. I'm like,
or they'll be like, you didn't respond to my email, and then you look at their emails, and it's like, but that was only 15 minutes ago. Am I supposed to carry your email with me?
Yeah, it's crazy, but
it is, and it is ruining marriages, because in order to have a relationship with somebody, you need to develop it, and that's not going to come over time. That's why people ghost each other. You know, these relationships, it's like they date, and then I don't know. I feel like, you know, I have 2 kids, and I always think it's so important to have like one friend that you see versus like 100 likes. Yeah. You know, on Facebook, I have 5,000 friends. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
When I was being stalked, I didn't know which of those 5,000 friends was stalking me, because this person knew where I was. And that really scared me. I'm like, these are supposed to be my friends, but actually they're using it as an avenue to hurt me. You know, that's the thing. You got to be very careful what you market. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, you know,
social media can hurt.
I'm in Pennsylvania. You guys want to stalk me? Come on. You know, my dog's
got a shotgun.
my dog's going to get you before I will. So
I know, I have 2 dogs. But yeah,
so, you know, I had a stalker, but I blocked them all, so they can't even find me. But
yeah, marriage is not instant gratification. No. It's like the total opposite. It's like delayed torture.
To me, marriage is the hardest thing you're ever going to do, and you know, it's harder than your job. You know, it's it's the one treasure that, you know, you'll feel that at the end of the day, that everything you've done is worth it, you know? Yeah. But people just don't value their marriages like they used to.
No, they value these little, you know, instant gratifications.
Yeah. So
it is hard. We need to go back to I think more traditional is better.
Yeah.
I mean, technology has ruined us in so many ways. Yeah. Marriage has been ruined.
Yeah.
So
for all those who are in California and you need help, please see Kelly Chang Rickert at, was it purpose-driven-lawyers.com. There you go. So thank you, Kelly, and all Thanks, your Rob. Listeners. I'll see you on the next podcast. Adios.
Okay. Bye.